Hi, I'm Leah. Welcome to my podcast, China Real Talks. In this podcast, I share honest and down-to-earth stories about life in China, covering everything from culture and work to language learning, all based on real experiences. Let's dive in.Hello, 大家好. Today's guest is Harvey. Harvey was born in China and raised in New Zealand, having both Kiwi and Chinese heritage, and currently lives in China. He also knows some Japanese language. Today, I will ask him about his background and recent life in China, as well as his thoughts on China and Japan. Harvey, can you briefly introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, hey, thank you, Leah-san. So, good day, hello everyone. 大家好. 皆さんこんにちは. 大家好. My name is Harvey. I am a New Zealander of Chinese descent. I was born in Chugoku, and as a baby, my family and I, we immigrated to New Zealand. The beautiful New Zealand with the nature and everything. I was raised in New Zealand, and for most of my life, most of my important formative years was made in New Zealand. And it was only a few years ago, back in 2019, when I decided on my own accord to move back to China. And as of now, most of my family, my relatives are still in New Zealand or Australia. So yeah, it's just me here. And so far these few years have been so great, especially as a Chinese person. It's given me a lot of inner confidence, because of my upbringing in New Zealand, whether it's been good or bad, but it's been a journey so far. And being back in China, it seems like me playing a baseball game and hitting home run, running a full circle and coming back. So yeah.
Thank you. Which part of China is your family originally from?
My family is Cantonese, so I am Cantonjin. I am Southern Chinese. I was born in Korsu. I am 27 years old, so in 1998, that's when I was born in Korsu. And then as a baby, my kazoku and we immigrated to New Zealand because during that time, almost 30 years ago, the China policies for people immigrating to other countries, it was much easier. And also at that time, in Western countries, other countries, they needed a lot of people, right, to do the work, to do the labor and stuff. So it was a win-win situation back then for Chinese people, for Western countries that needed more people. So yeah, that was why my family moved. And if you ask why did we leave China? I think it was because back in 1998, if you were to look at the economy of China back in 1998, it was like maybe number 10 or number 9 in the world. So a lot of other countries, much smaller countries, the economy was still bigger than China. So it really does speak volumes. And so the China that I was born into is not the China that we know now, that is a behemoth, that is a giant in all areas. So my family wanted me to have a better upbringing, and also being raised in a Western society back then, and still even now, it's a good thing. It's something that people would want to do, look forward to, because you can learn English and you can probably have a better chance education and finding a good job, just a stable life,
So that means back in time, the Chinese people already have a mindset that having a foreign language proficiency will bring you more opportunities in terms of jobs, and that means people can earn more money. I remember that in the 18th and 19th, there are a lot of Chinese immigrants moved to Japan and then started studying and working in Japan, and a lot of them actually decided to stay in Japan as well.
Right. Yeah.
So I know some people who came to Japan in 1990s and they liked the life in Japan, so they decided to stay. So they got a permanent residency and they have a family in Japan.
Yeah.
And then they sometimes go back to China to see their family.
Yeah, and then a lot of them eventually became Japanese citizens, right? They became zainichi kajin, was that what it is?
Yeah.
And their children were the ones that were born in Japan, basically culturally everything Japanese, but Chinese blood. I actually, back in my high school and New Zealand. I met a girl who was a couple years older than me. Her dad was Chinese and mum was Japanese, so she was half. And yeah, that was for me. That was something like super cool because that was my first experience, meeting a mixed Chinese, mixed Japanese person.
That's very interesting. Did you ever hear from your family that why they choose New Zealand and not other countries as a place to immigrate?
Yeah, I don't know if they were joking or if they really meant it, but I think it's hilarious, right? Because back then, before the 2000s, not many people, especially in China, but many parts of the world, they didn't have internet, so information really was much more scarce. And according to my mum, basically they felt like they were scammed because the information that they were presented with, New Zealand or Xinjiang, such a nice place, it's so advanced, and you're gonna be there and you're gonna have a great life, everything's gonna be okay, a lot of people, a lot of buildings, a lot of stuff going on. And then my mum said, when we arrived, man, no one was there were no people, there were more sheep than people, and all the buildings, there were only one story or two stories. I felt like I was in a village. That was what she said, and honestly for me it was so hilarious, and it still is very funny to this day. Just the expectation that they had and then what they actually stumbled across. But yeah, that's the stuff that you can see. But obviously New Zealand has always been a developed country, for its size, and it's got great welfare, great relations with other countries, and it does have a great education and great environment. So all that stuff, that you get to see afterwards. But yeah, my mum's first impression was damn, I got lied. I got
Nothing.
Yeah.
I've heard about similar stories about the Japanese people who immigrated to Brazil as well. Long time ago, actually. Because you said that your family still stays in New Zealand, that means after 30 years they doing life there, right?
Yeah, that's right, Tadashi. And me being back these few years to China, sometimes I go on a video call, voice call with my mom, and then sometimes I say to her, I'm like, hey, why don't you come back to China? Why don't you spend half a year in China, half a year in New Zealand? China's awesome now. She's like, yeah, China is, and obviously, I see it as well. But I've been in New Zealand for 30 years or so, and honestly, I'm just used to the life here. And yeah, I'm not used to the busyness in China anymore. So she's gone accustomed to, the quiet, slow pace of New Zealand. And, that's something that's great about New Zealand, That's something that a lot of people like about New Zealand. Yeah. And for me, I understand my mum, but for me, we're on the same spectrum, but on different ends. Because I was raised in New Zealand, so what I've known my whole life was a quiet, slow environment. Therefore, I've been craving in my heart to really live, a fast life, live a life in a bigger country, see the buildings, see the people. Whereas for my mum, she grew up in a big country, in a busy environment, and therefore, I guess she prefers a more quiet environment. You see what I mean?
Yeah. Understand. Because you are still young, so you wanted to explore more. That's another reason, because I'm Wakai, and Wakai people, right? I guess we want to feel alive, because that's what being in China makes me feel. It makes me feel alive, seeing all these lights, all the noise, the people, the shops open till 12 o'clock, whatever. It's just the liveliness, Whereas back in New Zealand is great, it is, but for somebody that was there most of their lives, and it feels like this. It feels like in a game, and the game that I play is Kantan mode. So it's life really easy, and compared to the rest of the world, and also geographically, you're so far away from the rest of the world. Our closest big neighbor is Australia, and even then Australia is 3 hours by hikoki away. Oh, yes.
I feel like in New Zealand, although we have a lot of different peoples that make up New Zealand, a lot of bunka, a lot of different hitopito. At the end of the day, we're all Niu Jii Lando Jin. We, have one country, one society. And as such, right, like I feel like we're kind of like distanced from the world in some ways. Yeah, so being in China, being right now what seems like kind of like the center of the world, and it just feels like everything is happening all at once, and I'm glad for it.
And Guangdong is one of the biggest cities in China.
Yeah. Oh, not Guangdong. Guangdong is the province. Kirushu, Guangzhou.
Oh, yes, Guangzhou.
Yeah. I know it's confusing
Guangzhou.
Yeah, it's confusing because there's Guangdong and Guangzhou, the name is similar.
Yes, Guangzhou.
Kirushu has 18 million people, That's like almost 4 New Zealands.
Wow, and that means you have more people than Tokyo already. If you only look at Tokyo, we have only 14 million people. Guangzhou is very big city.
Yeah, big, one of the biggest. I think the biggest by population by Jinko is Chongqing, because Chongqing is not just a city, but it's governed differently. It's basically a small province. Chongqing is a small province.
Counted same as Beijing or Shanghai, right? Same rank.
Something like that. Yeah.
So you decided to move to Guangzhou by yourself, and you came back to China a few years ago. And then what was your impression after you started the new life here? I mean, how did you feel? Like, what did you feel after you started a new life in Guangzhou?
Oh, a lot of things. But as I said earlier, being back to Chugoku, to Kirushu, the city where I was born, it felt like, a baseball game, home run. Felt like coming back, really coming back. And for me, in terms of my identity, it's done everything. Like, yes, I've homecome. Now I know who I really am, and it's given me a lot of jishin, a lot of confidence, because for a lot of overseas children of immigrants like me, whether you're Chinese or Indian or Japanese or whatever, but if you grew up in an environment that was originally not your parents, not yours, and you become a minority, and also there is like challenges, like for example, some racism here and there, and also trying to be a New Zealander, but at the same time trying not to lose your original bunka, because through your original bunka, your kotoba, that's how you would communicate with your family, So I know a lot of people that grew up having lost their language ability in Mandarin or Shanghainese or Cantonese, and as a result, they weren't able to communicate with their grandparents, and that's a big shame. Luckily for me, my kazoku always had a big emphasis, a big value on our culture, our identity. Whether it's Cantonese, whether it's Chinese, my family made sure I would never lose that. So from a very young age, we were all speaking Cantongo. And I remember when I was little, I was watching Hong Kong Terebi, which is Cantongo. We watched the Hong Kong Terebi in New Zealand, and my family would listen to Canton or Buta songs in Cantonese, the classic songs. So that did a lot of identity strengthening for me. Although I grew up in an environment that was so colorful, But being back in Guangzhou, I feel very much at ease. I feel like this is what I'm supposed to do in my life. I feel like this is my journey, and I feel like with this, because here's the thing about me and also like other people, I think most overseas Chinese people, most wouldn't come back or come to live in Chugoku. They would just stay in America or stay in Australia, New Zealand, Canada, Igiris, and maybe they would come back for travels, for 2 weeks, for a month. But most of them wouldn't choose to fully try to integrate back to China. And honestly, for me, that was a huge step. When I told my mom, when I told my family that I was going to do that, my okasa, she was like, oh my God, are you crazy? She was like, nah, there's no way. She said, 1, I'm not letting you. 2, even if I did, I don't think you would adapt. because you're basically a white boy. Oh, you've been in New Zealand your whole life. How are you going to adapt to the Chinese environment? Oh my God, you're gonna crumble. And my motivation back then was so strong. I felt like, there was something in me that was calling me back. And I didn't listen to anyone. I didn't even listen to my mum. I just listened to myself and I made the choice. And looking back at it now, I made the right choice. So I feel like I have a very I got a special position right now to, with my upbringing and with the stuff that I'm seeing and experiencing now, I want to share this with my fellow overseas Chinese people. I want to share this with foreigners outside of China who are interested in China or who aren't interested in China, who maybe see China in a different light. And I think it's my job, it's up to me to really bring that connection, build a bridge, and show the people China as it is. So for my overseas Chinese people, they can also have this confidence that I now have. They can reconnect with their culture, whether it's if it's through coming back more often, or if it's to work, if it's to live, whatever. I just hope I did something to inspire my fellow Chinese, overseas Chinese people, and build more bridges for the foreigners and the local Chinese people here.
It seems like you feel that you are in the right place now.
Yeah, I feel like I'm at the right place at the right time, and through what I've been through as a New Zealander and now as a, re-Sinization, like becoming Chinese again. Yeah. So for me, it wasn't just coming back through the lens of I'm a New Zealander, I'm an outsider, I'm different. I really, with my mind, my atama, I try to come back with the thinking that I am Chinese. I am going to be just as Chinese as the Chinese person next to me, at the same time holding on my Niu Jirando bunka and identity. I think that's allowed me to adapt to China, Chinese life, the language and the culture much faster and easier compared to other people.
That is interesting. And because your family keep on talking with you in Cantonese, so Cantonese language you had no problem, right?
I think so.
In terms of speaking. And
yeah.
How about reading and writing? Did you go to school?
Yeah, that's right. So back at home, we would speak Cantonese, which is our mother tongue. Mother tongue meaning that was the first language that I was taught. But it's not the best language because now my best language is English. But at home we spoke Cantonese, and back in New Zealand, in Auckland, when I was 6歳, 7歳, I think, something like that, my mum took me to Chinese class. So after school Chinese class, and that was every Friday. Mai Kinyobi for 1 hour and a half from Yonji to Goji Han. 1.5 hours. I did that every week, and I did that for maybe like 10 years.
Wow.
So
did you like it?
I loved it, and that's why it lasted 10 years. Because apart from Chinese class, my mum also took me to other classes. She took me to sugaku, she took me to swimming, she took me to football classes, hobby classes. Eventually I gave up on them all, but what stuck with me the whole time was Chinese, and it stuck with me because I chose it, I loved it, I was good at it, and I think I was good at it because I enjoyed it. During my Chinese class I was taught Mandarin, which is standard Chinese, right? I was taught standard Chinese, I was taught the words, I was taught ancient stories, also some history, stuff like that. It was very fun. I learned a lot. I want to say shout out to my sensei, Fan Lao Shi. She was and is a very nice lady, a lot of patience, and she taught me with love. And even now, my family still keep in touch with her because now my little brother is now learning Chinese under her. So this connection is continuing.
That's so lovely. And because of the environment, you could still communicate with the local people in Guangzhou after you moved to China, right?
对，正しい。I can communicate with my local, Canton Jin, and also with the rest of China, people that aren't Cantonese. Shanghai, Beijing, Nanjing, Harbin, wherever I can talk to you Mandarin.
That will make your life a lot. When I first moved to China, I could barely speak Chinese, so I have a really limited relationship with the local people. I could only talk to the people who can speak either Japanese or English. But now I can talk to the local people who only speak Chinese as well, which gave me more wider perspective about this country.
That's right. It feels like your eyes have opened, there's now an 新しい世界 to your atama.
And I always wanted to ask you how did you study Japanese?
Oh, yeah. So, this is a good question. When I was in New Zealand, back in New Zealand, 中学校 is 2 years, okay? Year 7, year 8. And I think it was in year 8, we could all choose languages. There were just a few options. There was French, there was Spanish, there was native Maori, which is the native language of the native Maori people of New Zealand, and there was Nihongo. For me, I chose Nihongo because I already understood at that time it was Asian, okay, and it's similar in some ways to Chinese. It used kanji, so I'm like, okay, of course I'm going to go for Japanese. It's easier for me. In year 8, I did that, and I enjoyed it. And year 9, I continued to learn Nihongo until I think year 11 or so. Eventually, I stopped using it, and then I just kind of forgot it. So I guess my Nihongo was better back then, so please forgive me if it's quite warui.
No problem. Have you been to Japan before?
Yeah, one time. That was when I was 15 歳, when it was, I think, year 10 or year 11. That was through an exchange trip because my koko back then was in touch with high school in Tokyo. We spent 2週間, 2 weeks in Tokyo, and I had such a great time. It was beautiful, the people were very nice. Japan was so clean, everything was orderly. And I enjoyed the architecture, the Japanese style architecture. And back in Japan, in Tokyo, that was my first time to Disneyland. And since then, I've ended up going to Disneyland, I think 3 times.
Have you been to Shanghai Disneyland?
No, not yet. But yeah, I guess someday, maybe in a few years when I have my own kodomo and I take my kodomo. I really enjoyed it because in Japan, during that Nijukan, I stayed with a hostel family. So I had my Japanese mum, Japanese dad, Japanese big brother, Japanese big sister. And they were so nice to me. My Japanese improved a lot during those 2 weeks. And yeah, it really did feel like we were family. So I really, really enjoyed it.
Do you still keep in touch with them?
It's been a long time. I have their Facebook, and thanks for your reminder, I should send them a message after this call.
Actually, I have also joined on a homestay program when I was 14 years old. I went to a small city near San Diego to study English. 14歳 in America. Yeah.
That must have been very special.
That was my very first time to the overseas country, and it was the homestay program to study language.
Huge culture shock, right?
The way people communicate to the stranger is absolutely different in America.
Yeah. And how long were you there for?
2 weeks, same as you.
2週間. Nice.
So it's not too short, not too long. I think it's a good amount of time to explore everything as a first-timer, a young student.
Yeah, totally agree.
That actually made me feel that I want to improve my English more. So I keep on studying English, and now I can use English.
Yeah, it gave you the confidence, Now it's time for more 中国語, eh?
Yeah, when I was in Incheon earlier this month, because the local people don't speak English nor Japanese, so I was only using Chinese for 4 days. It was a good practice for me.
Yeah, so I agree, So Ria-san, you and I, we were a similar age. We had a similar experience, right? Which was the exchange for 2週間 in a different country, and it opened our eyes. And yeah, I say this to the audience that will be listening to this. Ryoko is definitely a must. the world is big, yet it is so small. And honestly, life is so short. When you really tap into your heart and think about life and the world, how beautiful it is, what you really want to do, just go do it. If you want to travel, just go travel. If you want to live somewhere else, then live somewhere else, man. Just be like me. I wanted to come back to China, I did it.
And because you stayed in Japan on like a homestay program and staying with the Japanese family means that would give me a lot of chance to learn more about Japanese culture, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And now you live in China, so now you more about China. So I would like to ask you, how do you see the recent relationship between China and Japan?
Yeah, well, recently, like if we go from 2025, like this year, there's, from what I know, there's been, incidents in China and Japan, like, horrific incidents, right? People hurting each other. I remember a few months ago, there was a Chinese man in Shenzhen who stabbed a Japanese kid and he or she died later. And that was, so sad. I also heard recently that there was also some incidents targeting Chinese people in Japan. So recently, I think there's been, obviously tension, and especially with 2025 as being the 80th celebration of victory against fascism. That's to this day, it's the biggest block to China and Japan, and honestly, obviously, China and Japan can get better and should get better because we have Nagai Rekishi together, a lot of exchanges where back in the past China influenced Japan and gave a lot of the beautiful culture to Japan, and then Japan from that took it but also gave it a Japanese twist to it. So this enrichment of culture and these exchanges stretching a long time ago, by the way. Through this culture, the Chinese and the Japanese are actually more similar than Chinese people and other people, or Japanese people and other people. I just feel like we're cousins. We're like familiar cousins, but we're also distant. And because of that distance, I'm interested. But at the same time, it's like, there are some things that happen. So we have to, as a whole, try to address that properly. That's how I feel. But personally, how I feel the Japanese people are very nice. Obviously they are. Everyone tells you that Japan and Japanese people are nice, they're polite, which is true. But really, when it's between country and country, nation and nation, where normal people like you and I don't have a say, that's where some of the contentions can arise. Yeah.
Because, like you said, because it's been 80 years since the war has finished. So, obviously the Chinese government and Chinese people are reacting on that, right? And seeing that, many Japanese people are actually getting nervous about their reaction, and some people are even worried about if something would happen. But after I stay in China for 3 weeks and then talking to a lot of people and seeing people's reaction on this celebration, I slowly started to realizing that what they were trying to say is they have won against the Japan's gunkoku shugi. How do you say it in English? I realized that they are not trying to against the normal people in Japan, the current normal people in Japan. So I was even told from one random taxi driver that they don't hate us. I mean the people, the normal people. That they didn't like how the old Japanese government has done to their country. That's the thing that they think that they cannot forget ever, because they have to remember. It's very bitter, and we, like me, my generation, although I wasn't there, right, because I wasn't born, but I also remember, because even though I was raised in New Zealand, but I remember one time at home we were watching the news. Everyone was just watching the news, and then I remember it was something about China and Japan
probably over the Senkaku, the Diaoyudao Islands, and then there was some tension, and then that was what was on the news. And then I remember my grandma, she was like, so my grandma's like, I guess she's like 90 years old now. Yeah, but yeah, I remember she said, oh, these Japanese, they're so bad, Harvey. Ah, did you know what they did to us back then? So like even from a young age, I already, like knew, although I wasn't born during that time. So a lot of this trauma and you can say like hatred, it's carried on. But I agree with you. I think a lot of Chinese people don't hate Japanese people. It's the past, what was done. And I think the government has not formally apologized for this trauma for many years, and so it's very hard for Chinese people to like really get over it. Because here's the thing, right? You guys have good anime, technology, all that stuff, the TV shows, the Japanese music back then, the classic J-pop stuff. Like even my parents would have grown up watching some of those cartoons, and she likes that part as well. But on the other hand, it's hard to like truly move on when you have the other side of things that haven't been acknowledged, that have been like swept down, under the carpet. So it seems like the normal people, we want to like you guys. We want to like you guys. But because I think of the government, the Japanese government not properly educating the Japanese people about the war, what happened. So when there's a Chinese, Japanese and a Korean in a room, and like there are many things that we agree on, but there's also like some elephant in the room type of feeling. The Chinese knew what happened, the Korean knew what happened, but like the Japanese person, maybe not because of his fault, not her fault, but because he or she was not really taught about this. So he or she has no idea. Whereas the Chinese and the Korean is like looking at each other like, does a Japanese person know? So it's like we want to like you guys, but just because of, I guess, lack of education in that area. And because right now, China is now the one that is back on its feet. And because China is now strong, so therefore China has a voice. When you're strong, you have a voice. And when you have a voice, then people finally know. So now I think we're seeing some of this tension coming.
I also have a feeling that there's a lack of education in terms of the area. We do know that there are some things happen between China and Japan, but the education system didn't go deeper on that.
I just want to say, もう一度, the Chinese people like the Japanese people. We like the Japanese people. And we also want to say we like the Japanese people. But it's hard to say that and truly like when, what I just said happened. So in saying that, I have a solution. I want Japan to make it easier for Chinese people to like you guys. Because, the Chinese people, I think, have lent their hand. I think now it's time for the Japanese people to make it easier for the Chinese to say, hey, I really like you, man, because of the pop culture and also the traditional culture. It's good, and that's been one of the reasons why Japan has been very popular, even within Chinese people.
I actually feel that many Chinese people do like Japan, and I understand how they feel. But I also have a feeling that still many Japanese people haven't been receiving that, approach in the right way. Because more and more Chinese people are visiting Japan or even immigrating to Japan. And then we have more chance to, get in touch with the Chinese people more than ever. But still, some people don't have a good impression on Chinese people because of how they behave in Japan. I have a feeling that they are not just taught on how they should behave when they are in Japan. I think they just don't know. So what do you think
correct.
of that?
Tadashi, Chinese tourist issue, right? It's been going on for quite a long time where you have, because I think Chinese tourists contribute the most to world tourism in terms of money, in terms of number of tourists. So Chinese tourists are very important to the tourism industry. But here's how I see it. Give the Chinese people some more time, because it wasn't only until 2001 when China entered the WTO, the World Trade Organization, through the support of America and other countries. That was when China was integrated into, the World Trade Organization, into the world. So that was, not many years ago. And then 2009, that was when it surpassed Japan to become the second biggest economic power. And then from the Olympics and then 2010 onwards, from what I've seen, there's been such a huge change. I'll tell you what, so I was born in China and then I was in New Zealand most of my life, but every 2年to 3年, my family and I would come back to China to visit. And I tell you what, every time I came back, it was wow. It was like, damn, holy shit, like China keeps changing for the better. And I was like just so mesmerized, and it made me feel proud. But anyways, what I wanted to say was that all took time. In terms of the economy, but also for, I guess, the civility in people, common decency stuff. It's gone much better. However, I've been living in Korsu, Chugoku for 4 years, and every day sometimes I still see acts, mannerisms that I would say is not that nice. For example, if we want to go inside the subway, people aren't really going to give way. You kind of just have to go in. And, here and there, there's still some uncles that spit outside and then they spit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and stuff here and there. And all I got to say is this takes time. And China, unlike other countries, has 1.4 billion people, and such a short amount of time lifted a whole country out of extreme poverty. I think according to statistics, in these 40 years, China lifted more than 800 million people out of extreme poverty. That's almost unthinkable, It's like, what are these numbers? You can't even believe it sometimes, but that is facts. That's the truth. That's what happened. And I can say, in trade of the economy doing so well, I guess one thing is that the manners, there's still time to catch up. So to the people in Japan and to everyone else, the ones who are and will receive some bad Chinese tourists. First of all, man, I'm sorry, but at the end of the day, it's gonna take some time.
I think so too. I also have a feeling that the people's manner has been improving for the last 10 years as well.
Yeah.
I mean, talking about Shanghai, so this time I get to see less people actually spitting on the road compared to 9-10 years ago. I often get to see, especially the older guy, spitting on the road. But this time staying in Shanghai for a few weeks, actually I never see that happen. So I feel that is one of the things that has changed for the recent years. And I believe that as we also need more education in terms of the history, I mean, Japanese people need to know more about what's happened in the past. So Chinese people also know what the common sense in Japan. So what kind of impression the Japanese people will get if they do the things in the way that they do in China.
Yeah. That's right. You're 100% correct. When I see those Chinese tourists on Instagram or whatever, some of them behaving very bad, honestly, I think, damn, you shouldn't leave China. I'm proud to be Chinese, and don't screw that up for me. But at the end of the day, China is 1.4 billion, and nowhere else is 1.4, 1.5 apart from India. I ask the world to have a bit more patience with China. Yeah, it'll take time, and just please have a little bit more patience with us, because we are big on a big scale that none of you guys can imagine. So there's a lot of nice people, and there's also a lot of not so nice people.
I think so too. But that happens to the many countries as well, in Japan as well. Good people, bad people.
Yeah, that's the same. I have good hopes for China. I have good hopes for China-Japan relationship, and also like in terms of Chinese people, the tourists, their manners and stuff. I think we can do it. I really do think, because we gave a lot of the culture to Japan, and I'm saying it's like, if Japan can do this, we are the original whatever, then I think we can do even better, or like we can be as good. So we should strive to be good like Japan, or may I dare say, be even more polite than Japan. But hey, that might be me wishing. But if we are in terms of our people almost as polite as the Japanese people, then I think China will do really well.
Yeah, we all just need a time, more chances to learn from each other.
Yeah, that's right. And they will come.
Yes. Thank you. I would like to ask you that what do you want to do in the future using your background and your language proficiency?
With what I've been through in New Zealand and now in China, I want to use my position and my voice to, as I said, I just started an Instagram channel. It's called Team Back Channel. Team as in T-E-A-M, channel as in C-H-A-N-N-E-L. Team Back Channel, you can find me there. Basically, I want to just make a community for overseas Chinese people like us, or like, children of immigrants who have been divided between cultures, the original culture and the culture that the country that they're in. I want them to, through my videos, through my voice, through some of my ideas, give them more confidence to be proud of their culture, be proud of their original roots. That's what I think has given me so much confidence. So I just want to share that with the world, and I think right now this is my purpose. And honestly, I don't care about fame, being famous or whatever, but I want to see more people like me not being afraid of their original culture and identity. So you have a backbone that no matter who tries to bully you, you're not going to back down, because you know who you are. I like to show and not tell. I'm going to do it in a way that is my style, and also in a way that is like easy to digest, and it's going to be, I want it to be inclusive. Whether you're overseas Chinese or whether you're overseas Japanese or whatever, or even if you're none of those, you're a foreigner but you're interested in China, through my stuff, I hope it just gives you some insight.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm looking forward to see your community growing.
So yeah, it's a journey that I'm looking forward to. I just want to inspire people, that's it, because I know what it feels like to be torn between cultures. I know what it feels like to be made bad, to feel bad about who you are. When I was only 5 years old in New Zealand, when I was year one, I had a classmate who was doing the eye gestures to me, and then it was also in front of my mum, and yeah, I was only 5, but I already understood back then that I was different. What I did was I used my own hands to solve the problem. Violence is not the answer, but hey, what are you gonna do when someone pokes you? You're gonna poke back. Because here's the thing about like Chinese and like other Asians, there's a stereotype that we're quiet, that we're gonna stay down, that if someone bullies us, we're just gonna look the other way. That's the stereotype. I think that's why some people keep being racist to Asians, because they think we are so polite and we don't fight back. So my whole life has just been about defying stereotypes. I fought back. Yeah, whatever stage I'm in my life, I always try to fight back. Whatever people thought who I am this type of person, I'm that type of person. I always say, no, I'm this type of guy, and I'm going to show you how. And yeah, even my mum was like, oh, you're not going to be able to, settle back in China. I said, oh, that's what you think I am, eh? I'm a prove you wrong. So I'm going to just keep defying stereotypes, just being me, and I'm going to try to be an inspiration. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing your story.
No worries. And thank you, arigatou gozaimasu, Ria-san, for giving me a very...
ありがとうございます。谢谢、多谢。
Yeah, 多谢。
どうぜ。Thanks so much for listening. I'll keep sharing real stories that show what China is really like. Follow the show and stay tuned. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to send me a message. See you next time. 下次见。